Hello, everybody, and welcome to the JVology live show. I am not Jay Bissett. He is out on his way to vacation, much deserved get out of Dodge trip. So I am Krista Inakovsky, and I will be your host for JVology live today. And I'm really happy to be able to introduce, interview, talk about, and share with everybody Larissa Banting. How are you today, Larissa?
I'm great, Krista. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So before we get into all the cool things we get to talk about regarding publicity and the things that make you unique and big things that you're up to, just wanted to share with everybody about JVology. We are a community of entrepreneurs, of speakers, authors, thought leaders, people out there with a big heart and a big mission that get to come together, connect with one another, share their brilliance, like we're going to have Larissa share with you today. To help you grow your impact, your influence, and of course your income, and do it all in a really fun, engaging way, because we were all about relationships and having a great time, right?
Yep.
You've been, amongst a whole bunch of really cool, the Zooms and our connections, and we just have a really awesome community of people who love to, they love what they do, and they love hearing and sharing what other people in the community are up to. So I'm going to kick this off with the show to make it official. Here we go. All right, that's it. Look at that. That makes it totally official. We even get the JVology wink, so we're, thrown into the right direction. And now I want to introduce everybody to Larissa Banting. She's one of a handful of professionals who's accredited by the Canadian Public Relations Society. And you have amazing past clients that include the City of St. Albert, Bombay Sapphire Gin. I hope that came with some perks. Did you get some extra gin when you were?
A little bit, yes. And I'm a gin fan, so yeah, definitely a great client to have.
And you also have worked with the Northern Alberta International Children's Festival, CBC, and CTV networks. So, and I know that you have really had your hands in a lot of different places and helping people with their publicity get known, get seen. So we're excited to have you here to tell us more about that. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm totally excited. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs seem like they're a little bit not really sure what publicity is, or they don't feel like they're ready for it. And I want to say, if you are, like, if you're getting paid for something, like people are paying you money for what you do, you have experience and you have expertise.
It's kind of scary, actually. I think a lot of people look at publicity as, well, am I big enough, or am I special enough, or how do I reach the networks, or how do I get my, how do I get seen? So it for a lot of people, I feel like it's this kind of out there thing that sounds like a great idea, but they don't really know how to go about it. And that's where you come in, right?
That's exactly where I come in. Yeah, I tried to make it not as scary and actually make it, dare I say, fun, because it is. And here's the thing, like the media, here's the big secret. The media needs you just as much as you need the media.
Yeah.
Right? Like, imagine you had to write and research a blog post every single day. That's essentially what a journalist has to do, right?
Great content to bring forward, right?
What's that? Sorry,
They're looking for great content.
Yes,
they want to keep their audiences entertained and informed.
Well, that's the thing. And so if you can, because you are the expert, like this is a thing, like they're writers. They're not experts on the niche that you're in, right? They're just simply like the conduit between you and their audience. So they're looking to you to bring all that knowledge, that experience, those tips, those tricks, like all of that amazing stuff that you have in your brain, and give it to them so that they can write it. So here's the thing, you don't have to write. That's their job.
Okay.
And they're not like some, like the great Oz behind some curtain pulling all these levers who know everything. They're just regular people like you and I trying to do their job as well as possible. And if you can make their job easy, like coming to them and saying, hey, I'm an expert. I have this great story idea. I can give you, about this and this and this, and let's go. Then you have just made their life like hours less stressful, because now they don't have to try and start researching and
Okay.
finding experts and coming up with that story. Like, they're not looking at a blank page anymore, because now you have given them something that they can run with.
All right, but here's where we need you to come in, because it's like, oh, great, I want to be on, let's say, a network. I want to be on NBC, or I want to be featured in a publication. Give me an example. What's a
Like
publication?
Forbes. Everybody wants Forbes or Entrepreneur.
I'm like, okay, so am I just going to write an email to Forbes? Hi, Forbes, or hi. Who do you go to? What format do they want it? How do they get their attention? And that's why we need you, because that's
Exactly.
you're that bridge that's going to help us go, this is my expertise. This is what I want to bring to the world. This is what I feel is really hot and relevant. And I want as many people to know what I'm about so I can help them. And you know how to bridge that gap. Is that right?
Yes. Right. Because you nailed it right on the head there. You can't just write, dear Forbes, please write a story about me, because
I'm great. And people are going to love it. And
well, plus it's like imagine calling up like NBC, the switchboard, and saying, hi, I want to be featured on NBC. And the switchboard operator says, well, who do you want to speak to? Oh, I don't know. Well, no, it's like you need to know who that specific journalist is, who that producer is, because they are the ones that are going to like say yes or no. So you have to like hone in on who's going to be the best person for what it is you want to talk about, right? Because think about Forbes. There's a writer who writes about like Fortune 500 companies. There's someone who writes about women, female entrepreneurs, someone else who writes about tech. You wouldn't pitch the guy who writes about tech if you're a woman entrepreneur and you're in marketing.
exactly. So it's all about, again, that's where you come in, helping people zero in on what your message is, what outlet, who's going to want that content that you have that's going to really line up. Because when there's a fit, you're like, perfect, that's exactly what I need. And if it doesn't line up, you won't even hear back from them.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's about, it's not rocket science. It's really, coming up with what is an engaging story, what is going to serve their audience. Because you got to remember, they have an audience that they have to excite, engage, because if they're not giving them interesting content day after day, they're going to look elsewhere. Just
Right.
like you as an entrepreneur, you have to keep that's why we're always like, oh, I got to post on social media so that people are always coming back. Same with them. And the thing is, you have to research and to know what is it that they're writing about. What is that voice? How do they approach their audience? What do they talk about? How do they, what's that sound like? What does it read like? And then you have to take your story, whatever that angle is, and mold it in the pitch so that it hits that note, right? It's like
Yes.
like a radio station. You know how like you're in the car and that you're like the old fashioned tuner, and if you don't get right onto that station, it's like that. If you don't hit the right journalist with the right story, you're going to get static. That's all they're going to hear is static. But if you do hit the right note, it's like comes in crystal clear.
And I'd imagine for any one professional, or let's say coach or influencer, that you have the potential of hitting this person over here, and then this article here, and this one here. When you do the research or engage with you, Larissa, where you know what the angle is or what's interesting, I have a lot of content. I can mold my story to be the perfect fit for this article on this magazine, and I can kind of switch it. And it might be, this content may be similar, but my headline is different because it's going to meet another need, right? So you help people understand what each publication or broadcast station is looking for, what resonates with them, so that we can really align the material that we want to deliver with that, so you can nail it. Like you said, you need that alignment.
Right. Like think about it this way. Like you could have a story idea that, it can be a great story for Cosmopolitan, and it could be a great story for, say, like, Women's World or Red Book, but you're not going to pitch them in the same language, right? Like Cosmopolitan is going to be like, sexier and like that kind of vibe, whereas, Women's World is going to be much more conservative. If you were to send the story from Women's World to Cosmo, they're probably not going to bite, and vice versa. So it's the same concept. It's just how do you spice it or flavor it for your audience? Is it going to be like hot, spicy chicken wings, or is it going to be like a coq au vin or a roasted chicken?
Right. That's a good analogy. All right. So my other question for you is, we're looking at which direction. We've got the right headline. You can help people. I'm sure you help your clients like find that headline, and then you connect to hot topics, like what's really going on in the world to make that connection.
Yes. So helpful? That's something we call newsjacking. So, for example, if you're taking whatever's in the news cycle right now and finding a way to insert your business into that. Obviously right now, everything's COVID. This has been like probably the longest news cycle I've ever seen in my career. Like it just is like, okay, is it over yet? So the thing is, like, there's that first wave is like when everyone's talking about it and everything's fresh. And then it goes at the second wave. And then when you hit the third is where it's peaked, and it starts. And then by the time you've hit the fourth, it's over and done with. Like they've moved. It's literally yesterday's news that's going to be used in a bird cage. So they don't want that story anymore. And yes, it is oddly sinister. Shades of world domination. But just to give you an example, like I have a client right now, and he's a dentist, and COVID. We came up with this concept about the decay of America, because there's all of think about it. The kids are going to be going back to school. From like most of them are going to be still homeschooling. A lot of people are still working from home. So what do? We start snacking. And we're snacking throughout the day, which is something you don't usually do at the office. You definitely don't do it at school. The kids are drinking a lot more sugary drinks, drinking juice throughout the day as opposed to water. So that COVID-19, like everyone's gaining weight. Well, guess what? That has an effect on your teeth.
Oh, okay.
Right, carbohydrates, sugar.
What's relevant, and aligning it with this dentist, right? And there's millions of dentists everywhere. And how does he get to be the one that stands up and says, oh, this is a very interesting topic, I should be published? Just basically because he put his hand up, connected with you, and said, hey, let's turn this into something. Yeah.
So I came up with we work together to come up with okay, here's the things that we can talk about. And then it's my job to turn it around and see, okay, do the research on the different outlets, see what they've written about, and then approach them in the pitch to say, hey, like this is something that I think would resonate with your audience. It's kind of an extension from this other story. It's a continuation on the theme from the story you wrote recently about X.
Okay.
Right. So it's finding those hooks. And another thing is like when you pitch a story, 80% of the time, it's not going to hit that first time out of the gate.
Okay.
Right? Because, you've got to think about the average reporter is getting 53 pitches a day. And some editors are getting 300 a day. Like if you think your inbox is blowing up. So that's why it's so important to have a really catchy headline, so they know right off the bat what it is, if they're interested or not. And then just follow up. Like the fortune is in the follow-up. You have to follow up. Usually a week later, just reply to it and say, hey, I know you're super busy, just bumping this up in your inbox, wanted to make sure you saw it. Okay. If you still don't hear anything after a week, move on. Like go pitch it to another reporter at the same publication. Maybe hit a junior or assistant editor. Never approach the senior editor. They just don't. Keep it, no. Because they're the ones that decide what is going to go to press, but they're not the ones that are actually going to be writing the story.
Good to know.
Yeah, because there's a hierarchy, right? The other thing that is really important is that if you start doing media, get yourself a Google alert with your name and your company name.
Oh.
Because what happens is a lot of the times, like most of the time, the story goes live, the reporter doesn't know, and so you have no idea. Right? Because like you think about they've done the story, boom, they get it in, they've got deadline.
So you actually submit a whole story and not even know that they've used it?
They don't know when it's going to press. Like 90% of the time, they have no idea when it's going to actually be published. Obviously for if you're doing live television or radio, it's a little bit different. Podcasts, they normally will let you know when it's going to go to air because they want you to promote it. But when you're doing, usually, especially with newspapers and online publications, because they've got this ongoing churning of news cycle, they don't have
the job to follow up with you and be like, oh, congratulations, you're going to they don't care, they're just getting it out there.
Exactly. It's like it's okay, that's done, check, what's next, because they've always got this nipping at, they're having like the news is like this nipping at their heels. They've got to put content out. They don't have time to worry about what they did yesterday or a week ago. So this is why it's really, really important that you set up that Google alert, so that you can stay on top of it. Like I found out got into a story for Hello Giggles. That's Zoe Deschanel's blog.
Her.
Yeah. So but that's like 1.3 million viewers on her blog, right? And but I didn't know that I'd been on it. It was only because of a Google alert. Another publication had picked it up, and for some reason that Google alert kicked in, but the other one hadn't. So I found out like 2 weeks later that I'd been published.
Wow, interesting. You wouldn't have known.
I wouldn't have known. And so that's the thing. Just put in a Google alert, and that way, when you start doing media, you've got a better chance of knowing when you've been featured.
Right. Okay. So I know this is probably an obvious question, but what are your clients? What benefits are they getting as published as using Publicity? What does their business look like once they've had this exposure?
Okay. Well, right off the bat, the credibility. The studies they've done, it shows that customers see a business as being 7 times more credible when they're featured in the media as opposed to running an ad. Because think about it this way: let's say that you see an ad for an Italian restaurant. Yeah, okay, that sounds interesting. Whatever. But then your friend is like, "Oh my gosh, Krista, you have to go to this Italian restaurant. It was like mind blowing. It was the best pasta since Florence." What are you going to do?
You go to what your friend says.
Right, because they're this neutral third party who has nothing to gain from you going to that restaurant. That is the media. So when the media is saying, oh, this is someone who is fabulous or whatever, you have to go pay attention to them, it's the same thing as your friend giving you that recommendation. So that's why it's so credible. You think about, it takes 8 to 10 touch points before someone's ready to say yes to you. So being in the media just takes that and shortens those number of touch points needed, because you've already got that trust factor sewn up by being in the media. So that's one thing. Think about how much time do you spend on social media every day, like posting content, trying to drive people to your website, right? Like what do you think, an hour a day or more?
No, probably more. We have a lot of work is done on social, checking groups, posting, commenting. Yeah, definitely.
It's a lot, right? But what happens, like, especially, you spend all this time on like Instagram stories and Facebook stories, they literally disappear into the ether after 24 hours. Like they never existed. And even with everything that is on social media, only a small portion of your audience will see it. And there's no SEO, right? There's nothing, no backlinks coming in. They can't find you. Like if someone were to Google, it's not going to come up. So whereas with media, you're going to get all of those backlinks. So that's going to help your website rise up in the SEO rankings, right? Because you have bigger websites pointing to yours.
Mhm.
Like imagine having the New York Times pointing to your website.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that, but also if someone were to Google you, that's going to come up. Like those stories are all going to come up. So that is also going to be like, oh, easy to find. They
Right.
have credibility. They can see what other people are saying about you. So, and you can tell your story in a much broader way in like a feature in a magazine or a newspaper than you can in social media. I'm still getting clients from, coming to my website from articles I did like, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago. Went front page of the New York Times. Okay, James.
Awesome. Okay. I actually asked another. This is funnier.
$50. Oh, it's $50.
Yeah.
I'm in.
I don't know what Haro is. Do you? What is that?
Haro is help a reporter out.
Oh, okay. I've heard
yeah.
you mention that.
Yeah. So what it is it's an amazing service. It's like, so all of these reporters are looking for expert subjects to interview for their stories. And we're talking people from like reporters from New York Times, Forbes, Entrepreneur, Inc., Fast Company, Good Morning America, podcasts, like the gamut. So what they do is you can go and you can sign up for this. You go to helpareporterout.com. And then you're going to start getting these emails 3 times a day, 7:35, 12:35, and 5:35 Eastern time. And it can be a little bit overwhelming because sometimes there'll be like 140 reporters looking for queries. Yeah, but they're broken out into different, like there's biotech, entertainment, tech, sports, politics, general. So kind of you can scan pretty quickly.
Okay.
I mean, it's a little more complicated for myself because I'm looking for all my different clients. I've got clients in different categories, so I have to really pay attention. But if you're an entrepreneur and your area is marketing, you're pretty small chance you're going to have anything in the bio, category. So you can usually just stop, you scan real quick. All it is just a queries at first. And then if you see a query that is like, okay, this sounds interesting, you click on it. And then the full query will come up. It'll tell you usually who the outlet is. Sometimes it'll say anonymous, who the writer is. They'll go into more detail about what the query is about and what they're looking for, and the qualifications. And that's something that's really important. You have to, because if they're asking, oh, we want to hear from a medical, or you have to have these qualifications, then there's no point in you answering if you don't have those qualifications, because you're just going to be disqualified.
Right.
Right. So the idea is it's a numbers game. There's 80,000 people who are subscribed to Haro. So it's really whoever kind of gets out of the gate the fastest. So because they can get hundreds of answers back. So to stop what you're doing, what I recommend is have like your little boilerplate. That's like the one paragraph, about 3, 4, maybe 3 sentences. Who you are, what you do, why you're an expert, the link to your website, any awards you've won. So that's like your little boilerplate. So they can see why, you're establishing yourself as an expert. You just have that sitting on your computer somewhere, so you can just literally copy and paste it into the answer.
That sounds really important. We need to know
what a really good little answer. Like,
sorry, that I was just going to say that's a really important tip, because we need to know what to have handy, like what they're going to want to hear from you, and that's something you help people write, who they are, why it's important, if they have awards, that kind of credibility piece that you submit with the headline or with your pitch.
Right. So what you want to do is when you click on the email to go back, to answer back, you're going to put like Haro and then the name of the query.
Okay.
You're going to say, hey, Bob Smith, or the reporter, answering your query about, and then answer it, because sometimes they'll have like more than one query out if they're working on a couple of stories. Boilerplate, so they can see right off the bat why you're an expert, and then just a couple of really well written short answers. Do not give them War and Peace, right? Like they're scanning. right? And if it's like, usually they'll often just cut and paste from, if they use you, they'll just cut and paste the story, whatever you've said, and put it into their story. Like take those
Okay.
quotes
I want
that
it
you
like, ready
have.
to go.
Yeah, so just write it down, but give the type of advice you would charge $1,000 for, like your best, juiciest, like, this is so yummy, not the obvious, right? Like they're coming to you because they want expert advice. They don't want like the most obvious answer to the question, because anyone can do that.
Right.
So really give them the good stuff, and the better, more well-rounded your answer, the more likely you are to be used, and you could even end up getting them coming back to ask you again and again. Like that's happened to me, where I've years ago, a number of years ago, I got onto a Haro with one reporter, and she liked how my answers were, and then she asked me once, like, hey, I'm doing the story, she came to me because I was like, I dropped everything I was doing to stop, answered her back, boom. And it's like, wow, okay, you didn't wait until the last second. So now that created this relationship where she comes to me on a regular basis. And
Right.
that can happen.
All right, so I'm going to summarize a couple of key points that I've heard you say. You want to have your key points of who you are, what you're up to, your qualifications there ready to grab so that you can do this fast. That replying quickly is going to be really important. You mentioned that we need to give our very best material. Don't just be vague. Don't do it as kind of common knowledge, but dive in and give them something juicy. Give them something that they probably haven't heard before that's going to take the conversation to the next level. And then reply quickly back so that you may end up with this opportunity to be a recurring contributor. And when you stay top of game, then that's going to really help them like you and see your professionalism and know that they can count on you.
Yeah, exactly. And make sure you let them know how they can get in touch with you. That's the last part that's really important. Yes, reply quickly. Super important. It's so important. And really important, grammar and spelling. It has to be 100% because these are people that work with words every single day, and nothing drives writers more crazy than poor grammar.
They don't want to edit your stuff. Like you said, they want to copy, paste, send, be done with it, and make sure that you have put in your Google search for your name and your company name so that you're going to get a notification in case you've been published and didn't even know about it.
Yeah, exactly. Excellent.
So you've given us some amazing, not just tips, but like the how-to, Larissa. So I'd love for you to share with us, and I know you've got some big things coming up. Tell us what you have. How can we engage with you? I know that most everybody within our community and in our audience can benefit from Publicity. So I'm not even going to say who it's for. Just like everybody, listen up.
Okay.
Let's listen to what Larissa is doing and what you have to offer, so we can pay attention and.
Okay. Yeah, I have something really fun starting on Monday. It is called 5 Days to be a PR superhero. Ooh. So yes, so I'm actually going to be like every day. It's going to be a short little video with a little bit of homework, but I'm actually going to walk you through how to write your boilerplate, how to create your story angle, how to find those media outlets, and how to actually write the headline, and then how to actually write that email and send it off. So the whole idea is that over the course of the 5 days, you're actually going to send out to at least three media people before the week is out. Yeah, and it's free. I'm going to be walking you through it. If you show up live, we're doing live Q&As every day at noon Mountain Time. And if you show up live, there will be prizes, $25 gift certificate from Amazon. But the biggest winner is going to be you, because you're going to start getting into that habit of doing publicity for your business. And like I said, it's a numbers game. The more you pitch, I mean, honestly, like seasoned PR pros, we get about a 15 to 20% success rate. So if you want to get like 20, potentially 20, outlets featuring you, you got to put out about 100 pitches.
What I love about this 5-day challenge is you're helping us go through to make it not so scary. Because from the
Exactly.
outside, we haven't done anything. It's like, sounds like a good idea, but I'm not really sure. But by joining the challenge, which everyone here should do, take the 5-day challenge step by step, a little action each day. Then once we've done it and submitted, we'll be like, okay, I think I've got it. And it sounds like a pattern that then you can repeat more and more, and even if you fine tune, get better at it. So I love that.
Yeah, it's just, literally, yeah, yes, that's right, exactly. 25 US is like almost $3,000 US. Yeah, you know what? It takes away that, it's just like kind of jumping off of that cliff and realizing you've got this great big parachute, and it's a lovely little just floating down. And so great to see the landscape. But if you make it like 10 minutes a day, like literally like pitch one outlet a day.
Okay.
You do that every day, you're going to have, that's 20 pitches you've just put out by the end of the month. Right. And if you're looking at maybe like a 50, even say 10% success rate, that's two features you didn't have before.
Nice.
Right. Start thinking. And then the crazy thing is that media is a snowball, and media begets more media. So as you start getting out there, they're always looking for stories, and they're always on a deadline. So a lot of the times they'll take a story that's already published and then either rework it, or like say, oh, we want to feature you because we saw you in this other article. Or they might even just syndicate it and run it again. So
Awesome.
you can get a lot of traction.
Super. So I have put in the chat, it's up here, but you don't have to read it. It's all in the Facebook chat. You can just click the link and get signed up for Larissa's free 5-day challenge and get it going, get kicked off with it, become a PR superhero, and just dive in. I think that's really exciting.
Yeah. It's the best thing you can do for your business.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Larissa, for sharing your expertise in publicity and in PR, and really encouraging all of us within the community to get out there and go bigger, get beyond just their social media platforms, and create a bigger exposure for ourselves, and how to do it. So everybody grab that link, get signed up, join the challenge, and follow along. You can Larissa's live Q&As, ask questions, and let's see who in the community gets published first from this.
Yes, a little bit of challenge, Yeah. Let's see, a little skin in the game there. If you're a betting man or woman, yes. I like that idea.
All right.
Okay.
Any last words? Anything we missed you wanted to share?
Well, I just wanted to leave you with this. Look, the media has to feature somebody. Why not you?
That's it. That's the way to do it. So go for it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me, Krista.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Great having you on the JVology live show, and we will see you real soon. Thanks, Larissa.
Okay. Bye.